The story is set at Tongul High School, located in Seoul, South Korea. During a PE class, a group of students runs on the outdoor track. The teacher encourages the runners and tells the next group to get ready for their turn. A student named Kim Sol complains to herself about having PE in the hot weather. Kim Sol decides to go inside the school building to rest before going back. She enters a classroom and finds a male student slumped over a desk, seemingly asleep. The male student wakes up suddenly and calls out Kim Seol's name in surprise. He tries to explain to a shocked Kim Seol that the situation is a misunderstanding. The male student stands up and says he checked to make sure her desk was safe. Kim Seol responds by kicking the male student to the floor, calling him a psycho. Her eyes glow red as she accuses him of bothering her since he transferred to the school. As he sits on the floor, she asks why he was going through her desk. Surrounded by a red aura, Kim Seol smiles and says she has caught the creep. Another female student appears in the doorway and asks Seol what is going on. The new student, Lee Hyuna, explains she heard a commotion and came to investigate. A girl with dark hair and red eyes asks someone off-screen if they are okay. She tells her confused friend that she just caught something, pointing to her side. Her friend asks who was just there, but the dark-haired girl seems surprised by the question. The friend looks into the classroom and asks Seol where the guy she saw went. A male student with dark hair is shown hiding under a piece of dark cloth. The same student is now hanging from a window ledge as others watch from a walkway. Scene transitions to a single lit window in a building at night. Inside, a woman praises the student, Soo-hyun, for his good work while preparing a drink. The woman, identified as NIS team leader Sun Charon, tells him not to be modest. Two armed agents in a doorway report that the retrieval team is ready for the target. A close-up shows a captured man who is gagged with green tape. The two agents observe the man, who is completely wrapped in green tape inside a locker. Sun Charon holds a clipboard with the man's file, calling him a small-time operative. She explains he was caught planting a bomb, which is shown attached under a desk. Soo-hyun listens to the debriefing and concludes this was the enemy testing the water. The agent Soo-hyun tells his handler that he felt like they were being probed. She confirms the game has begun, focusing on Kim Sol, a candidate for leadership. A board shows Kim Sol at the center of a network of people in this game. The handler comments that targeting someone so young is a brutal tactic. She turns to Soo-hyun, addressing him as their youngest agent, to give him the mission. Then she explains that Kim Seol's life is in their hands and his job will be difficult. Soo-hyun, an operative for NIS, confirms that he understands his assignment. The handler instructs him to stay undercover at school and asks if he made friend. Soo-hyun's silence makes her realize he has not made many friends as a transfer student. She presses him, asking if he has failed to make even a single friend. Soo-hyun insists that his lack of friends does not interfere with his mission performance. His handler puts her arm around him, explaining that he is missing the point. She leans in close and gives him a direct order to make some friend. The next day, the scene shifts to the exterior of the school building. Soo-hyun peeks from behind the locker, nervously repeating the word friend to himself. A dark-haired girl with red eyes shows a symbol of irritation next to her head. The girl, Soo-hyun, points out a male student hiding nearby, telling her friend he is a creep. Her friend Hyun-ae finds him intense, while two other girls gossip about the same student. The two gossiping girls discuss how he supposedly makes up stories about himself. Soo-hyun overhears them, touches her ear, and complains about an annoying buzzing sound. She confronts the two girls with glowing red eyes, telling them to speak to her face. The two girls nervously deny they were talking about her, but Soo-hyun dismisses their claim. Soo-hyun and her friends smile as Soo-hyun says that nobody's sure act brave. The male student from earlier looks distressed while hearing the word friend repeatedly. He approaches a different male student with glasses and asks if he needs a friend. The student with glasses is startled by the sudden question and falls backward over a desk. First student tells the fallen one he has been caught but it can be fixed. He then shoves the student with glasses and another person behind some furniture. The student with glasses stands up, adjusts his glasses, and says he had to drop his cover. He explains that he heard someone who sounded like they were in need of a friend. The student with glasses confidently asks Soo-hyun if he has any interest in the military. A confused Soo-hyun questions his own interest while the other student affirms it for him. In a flashback, his handler advises him to find common interests with classmates to befriend them. Soo-hyun remembers her advice about showing interest in what other people like to get closer. He tells the student he likes the military, who then excitedly declares that they are friend. Soo-hyun has a wide-eyed realization that making friends is actually an easy task. The new friend introduces himself as Park Min-dik, a military expert, as Kim Seol watches nearby. Elsewhere in the school, Kim Seol calls out to someone by saying, "Hey!" A blonde male student approaches her and confirms that she is Kim Sol. He tells her he has something to discuss and asks if she has a moment to talk. The student then asks what she is doing after school, and she looks annoyed. Kim Sol tells the blonde student that they should go talk somewhere outside. The blonde student smiles and agrees to her suggestion to speak outside. Two of them are now standing alone on the littered school rooftop. With his back turned to her, the student comments that it is a dirty place to confee. A male student with orange hair meets Kim Sul on the roof, who asks if he is there to confee. He confidently asks her out, claiming he will soon be a famous soccer star. Unimpressed, Kim Seol responds sarcastically and gives him a pixelated offensive hand gesture. The male student is shocked and confused by her dismissive and rude reaction. He becomes angry and confronts her, asking if she is looking down on him. She tells him she is leaving for class, but he grabs her shoulder to stop her. Enraged, the student throws a punch at Kim Seol, yelling at her for her attitude. A red object suddenly appears, blocking the punch just before it connects with her. Soo-yeon is revealed to be the one who intervened, kicking the student's arm away. The kick connects with the orange-haired student's face, causing his nose to bleed. Holding his injured nose, the student angrily asks Soo-yeon who he is to interfere. Soo-yeon glares with a menacing aura, making the student think he is insane. The orange-haired student screams and backs away from Soo-yeon as Kim Seol watches in surprise. He points at them both, calling them crazy and saying they are birds of a feather. As he runs away with a final warning, Kim Seol dismisses him as an idiot. The girl with dark hair and red eyes crosses her arms, calling someone a perv. She confronts the male student, asking why he is acting this way and if he likes her. He smiles and confirms to Kim Seol that he is indeed showing interest in her. The student then tells a surprised Kim Seol that he likes her as a friend. Kim Seol is completely shocked by his sudden and unexpected confession of friendship. He repeats his statement while she asks if he seriously thinks she would date him. The male student calmly agrees with her, stating that they are not going to date. Confused by his agreement, she stops mid-sentence and looks at him questioningly. She asks him if he is being serious, still processing his unexpected response. He leans over her and vows to protect her because he likes her as a friend. The scene changes to an afternoon surveillance report from an agent in the school hallway. Report notes the target, Kim Sol, is behaving differently than she did this morning. A close-up on her feet shows her tapping them, displaying slight signs of anxiety. She is observed being deep in thought and writing something down at her desk. A close-up of her determined red eye shows her focusing intently on something. Soo-yeon observes someone from his hiding spot, noting no visible signs of disease infection. Kim Seol spots him and angrily throws her pencil case at his head, shouting his name. She confronts him for spying and tells him to at least hide properly next time. Kim Seol glares at him, surrounded by a purple aura of intense anger. Her friend Hyuna watches the interaction with a thoughtful expression on her face. Hiding again, Soo-yeon writes in a notebook, noting the time and her maximum violence level. The student with glasses pops up suddenly from behind a box, startling Soo-yeon. Student asks Soo-yeon where he disappeared to, having searched everywhere for him. Soo-yeon ignores the question and instead shows the student something on a digital tablet. The student analyzes the tablet's contents, identifying what he believes are modified North Korean weapons. He gets uncomfortably close to Soo-yeon, his glasses glowing red as he asks about a political session. The student with glasses pulls back and apologizes for getting carried away with his monologue. He then asks Soo-yeon what he is looking at so intently from their hiding spot. They are watching Kim Seol, whom the student with glasses identifies as the prettiest girl. The student grabs Soo-yeon's collar and asks if he is interested in Kim Seol. Student with glasses warns Soo-yeon that Kim Seol has an incredibly violent temper. Soo-yeon states that it does not matter and that he likes Kim Seol as a friend. The student with glasses gasps with his hand over his mouth, looking shocked and moved. He apologizes for being narrow-minded and promises to fully back up Soo-yeon from the sideline. Next, he asks what is good to give a friend, then answers that it is a gift with affection. He explains that Kim Seol has a simple style and that giving her an accessory would help. Soo-yeon looks to the side and asks what kind of gift he should get her. The student with glasses acts surprised, asking if it is not obvious while gesturing to himself. He suggests a cute chest holster that can hold a pistol, shown on a female model. Soo-yeon stares ahead with a blank expression after hearing the strange gift suggestion. He then pulls out a device, saying he has one, which makes the other student exclaim. Kim Seul, who is sitting nearby, asks if she can try it on, and Soo-Hyun agrees. She then becomes annoyed and tells Soo-Hyun to keep his voice down in the classroom. The student with glasses sweats profusely with a flustered and excited expression on his face. Buttons on his shirt strain as he appears to be physically overwhelmed with excitement. A large female student with glasses stretches, saying her strength training makes the uniform tight. She asks a shocked Soo-Hyun and Kim Seul if the uniform suits her. The student flexes her chest, causing a button to pop off her shirt with force. Button flies through the air towards Kim Seul's face as she looks on, startled. A single white button is shown rolling to a stop on the classroom floor. The large student covers her chest in embarrassment as Soo-Hyun and Kim Seul look on. Soo-Hyun picks up a black strap, thinking to himself that originals are truly different. He turns to Kim Seul and offers her the black strap he just picked up. Kim Seul glares with glowing red eyes as he presents the strap as a gift. She throws the item out the window, calling him a pervert and telling him to keep it. Sometime later, Soo-Hyun walks alone on a paved area outside the school. Now with a bandage on his cheek, he calls out for Kim Seul to calm down. He blushes, recalling that friends who fight are said to be closer to one another. Concluding he is now closer to Kim Seul, a red-haired student approaches him. The red-haired student, backed by his friends, asks if he is Jung Soo-Hyun. Soo-Hyun looks on with a neutral expression as he is being confronted. The student with glasses smiles widely and says his friend has business with Soo-Hyun. Friend is revealed to be the orange-haired student and his gang, who greet Soo-Hyun. Friend is revealed to be the orange-haired student and his gang, who greet Soo-Hyun. Soo-Hyun calmly asks the group of students what business they have with him. The orange-haired student accuses Soo-Hyun of pretending not to know what is happening. He menacingly asks if Soo-Hyun has already forgotten their encounter on the rooftop. Soo-Hyun explains he acted because the student was threatening Kim Seul first. The other students grab Soo-Hyun, saying they need to teach him a lesson. As they lead him away, one student expresses doubt but is told it is fine. The group walks outside to teach him manners while Kim Seul watches them leave. Scene cuts to a close-up of a soccer ball being kicked powerfully. In a soccer game, a goalie dives to save the ball as a teammate shouts encouragement. Kim Seul stands alone outside, looking thoughtful with her hands in her pocket. In another location, Soo-Hyun dodges red cans thrown at him by a blonde student. Kim Seul looks serious as Soo-Hyun's voiceover states he will protect her to the end. Kim Seul's friend Hyune calls out to her, saying they should go. Kim Seul says it is nothing and agrees to head inside because it is chilly. Soo-Hyun's foot is shown entering a doorway, kicking a small doorstop aside. Inside, his handler lies on a couch and praises Soo-Hyun for his good work. She asks if anything happened, and he reports that there was nothing unusual. The handler concludes that the enemy knows they have intervened and will not act immediately. She then casually tosses 2 empty cans into the air in his direction. The 2 cans are shown flying through the air with motion line. Soo-Hyun catches both cans, and his handler compliments him on the nice catch. With a serious expression, Soo-Hyun addresses her formally as team leader. He looks at the messy room and asks if he can tidy up a bit. She tells him she is too lazy and that he should just lie down. Surrounded by a fiery aura, Soo-Hyun puts on gloves and says he will handle it. The room is then shown to be immaculately clean and sparkling. Wearing a mask, Soo-Hyun cleans a table, saying it looks like when he first moved in. His handler, holding a drink can, looks on with a silent, thoughtful expression. She breaks the silence to ask Soo-Hyun if he is finding school difficult. He replies that it is not hard, even though it is his first time experiencing it. While flipping a page in his report, he pauses and says, "Actually." Soo-Hyun then elaborates that he finds these new feelings to be fascinating. Blushing slightly, his handler says that his response is a relief to hear. The scene changes to a group of students in a dark alley at night. A person's feet are shown walking away from the alley on a wet sidewalk. A masked, red-haired student watches from hiding, wondering how such a person exists. In the alley, a blue-haired student complains that they could not land a single hit. The orange-haired student wonders why Soo-Hyun only dodged, while another comments on his speed. A student recalls Soo-Hyun only dodged. The group agrees not to mess with him anymore, while the masked student smiles nearby. A blonde student, who appears to be the leader, angrily asks what they are discussing. They remind him he ordered the attack and ask how they can fight someone they cannot hit. A red-haired student with a shadowed face smiles and says he wants to ask a question. He asks the orange-haired student's gang what they know about the girl Kim Seul. His eyes glow red as he states he is someone who is very interested in Seul. Elsewhere, Kim Seul's friend Hyune asks her if she heard about something by a window. Hyune explains that a big fight between students from other schools left everyone seriously hurt. She suggests they be careful going home. home, while Kim Sol listens with a serious look. In a classroom, a large student with glasses talks to a brown-haired student about a tank. Yoon turns to Kim Sol and asks her if something is wrong. Noticing her expression, Kim Sol looks away from her friend and replies that it is nothing. The brown-haired student is suddenly shown with a shocked and wide-eyed expression. Standing behind Kim Sol, he exclaims in frustration as she calls him a pervert. Kim Sol laughs and points at him, asking if he has a death wish. She expresses her annoyance with him as her friend Hyune looks on from the side. The brown-haired student suddenly shouts loudly for everyone in the room to stop. Kim Seol grabs his collar as he looks surprised and music notes appear around them. A student with a red armband shouts that others are being too loud in the school. He continues yelling at the students to stop making a scene right now. Nearby, Kim Seol silently pulls on Soo Yoon's tie, getting his attention. A close-up shows the red disciplinary committee armband on the yelling student's arm. Kim Seol lets go of Soo Yoon and says they will stop, which seems to satisfy him. A female student whispers to another that Kim Seol is nothing special despite her attitude. The girls gossip about Kim Seol as the committee member celebrates his intervention in the background. Committee member smirks, thinking that Kim Seol is weird but sometimes comes in handy. Kim Seol turns back to Soo Hyun, staring at him with a serious, unreadable expression. Soo Hyun looks at her with concern and asks if there is some kind of problem. With her red eyes glowing, Kim Seol glares at him and tells him to shut up. Soo Hyun immediately agrees to shut up as Kim Seol turns away from him. He thinks to himself that one issue is resolved as the committee members walk away. The scene transitions to an exterior shot of the school building on a bright day. A large student with glasses finds Soo Hyun on a bench and asks what he is thinking about. The student with glasses asks Soo Hyun about the person who called out Kim Seol's behavior. He explains she is the powerful disciplinary committee president who specifically scolds Kim Seol. Admitting he does not know the details, they are approached by a girl with glass. Soo Hyun looks over at the approaching girl with his arms crossed and an unamused expression. The girl with glasses offers to tell them about the situation between the two. Student with glasses reacts with excitement, calling it a sudden event and asking for the story. She becomes flustered and stammers, looking nervously at the male student. For a moment, she then asks if she can speak to Soo Hyun alone, shocking the other student. The student with glasses agrees to leave, telling Soo Hyun he will leave the rest to him. After he leaves, the girl apologizes to a confused Soo Hyun, who looks at her questioningly. Elsewhere, Kim Seol asks Hyuna why the committee president always scolds her in public. Hyuna replies that there must have been a reason for it happening today as well. Kim Seol wonders if it has something to do with Soo Hyun, and Hyuna seems surprised. Hyuna asks why Kim Seol is so calm, insisting they need to discover the reason. Kim Seol calmly asks what they would do even if they did find out the reason. Kim Seol holds a red can and says this is not the first or second time. She tells Hyune she is leaving to walk around, and her friend offers to join her. Kim Seol turns sharply and tells Hyune that she needs to think by herself for a bit. Hyuna watches her walk away, thinking that she also has things to sort out herself. Kim Seol walks alone down the hallway, drinking from her can while looking at her phone. The large student with glasses walks past her, dejectedly saying he was not chosen for the battle. Two students accidentally bump into each other, startling the large student and annoying Kim Seol. He apologizes for not watching where he was going as she grabs his arm, making him yelp. The student shouts her name in surprise, and she looks at him intently, asking, "Wait, you?" She tells the confused student that his timing is perfect because she has something to ask him. Elsewhere, the girl with glasses blushes, saying she cannot believe she is talking to Soo Hyun so easily. She tells Soo Hyun that she would have talked to him sooner if she knew it would be like that. Soo Hyun realizes her story was just bait and asks what she actually wants from him. The girl with swirly glasses says she really likes that cold charm about him. She elaborates that he does not seem to look at anyone else besides Kim Seol. The girl with glasses begins telling Soo Hyun that she has been watching him for weeks. She explains that she saw how he acts toward Kim Seol despite pretending not to notice. The girl says she was surprised his actions were for Seol and asks about her reaction. While Kim Seol listens from a distance, the girl recounts how Seol ignored and hit him. Blushing, the girl nervously suggests that Soo Hyun should try being close with her instead. Soo Hyun immediately refuses her offer, which surprises the eavesdropping Kim Seol in the background. He clarifies that he does not do things for Kim Seol expecting anything in return. Soo Hyun confesses he helps Kim Seol because he likes her, causing the girl to blush. The girl points out that Seol often looks troubled by his actions, though she finds it cool. A flustered Soo Hyun loudly explains that his methods are simply a matter of trial and error. Having overheard his confession, Kim Seol stands nearby, blushing while covering her mouth. A close-up of Kim Seol's face shows her hiding a small, pleased smile. The girl apologizes and says says she will cheer for him from the sidelines as he looks away. Sometime later, Soo-hyun stands alone on a city street as the sun sets. A voice calls his name, and he looks up, wondering if it is Hyuna. Soo-hyun asks the girl why they are walking this way, and she replies she wanted to talk. His eyes widen as a red exclamation mark appears, indicating he has sensed danger. A close-up shows a pair of gloved hands pulling a thin, glowing red wire taut. The girl's eyes glow red as she holds the wire and menacingly asks if he has a minute. Soo-hyun looks back at her with a calm, unamused expression and remains silent. He tells the girl he must refuse her request because it is almost dinner time. She laughs at his response and asks if he really does not have a single minute. Soo-hyun explains that he is currently sensing an incredible killing intent coming from her. A close-up reveals Soo-hyun's eye glowing red as he focuses on the threat. He moves with extreme speed, becoming a blur as he dodges an incoming attack. The girl is shown completing her attack, her red wire having just missed his neck. With her red eyes narrowed, she thinks to herself that she should keep her distance. Soo-hyun appears upside down behind the shocked girl, asking why she attacked him. After landing, he faces her and demands that she give him a proper explanation. Soo-hyun stands silently and adjusts his tie while waiting for the girl to respond. Soo-hyun adjusts his tie and tells the girl she is going to have to pay for the. The girl, Hyuna-a, crouches with a red string and says he only got lucky dodging. With glowing red eyes, she lunges forward with the string, challenging him to dodge again. He leans back, grabbing her arm and stating he has no intention of fighting her now. Ducking under her arm, he says he just needs to explain the current situation to her. He checks his watch and thinks about mealtime while she demands an answer from him. A close-up shows Hyune's face with wide glowing red eyes filled with anger. She yells, "Shut up," and pulls hard on the red string she is holding. The string is shown wrapped around Soo-hyun's ankle, tripping him and pulling him forward. Hyuna appears behind him with glowing eyes as he thinks her attack is dangerous. The red string is now wrapped around his neck, tightening and pulling him backward. A woman with a smoking gun is revealed, the string being her weapon's laser sight. The woman asks if they are friends now, as Hyuna sits on the ground with bleeding hand. Girl with glasses smiles widely and suggests they stop fighting between friends. Hyuna angrily rejects the idea, yelling about who could possibly be friends with them. The girl with glasses from a confrontation looks surprised and says, "Ah." She calls for a timeout, holding her hand up to stop the situation. The scene transitions to an exterior shot of a large office building at night. Inside, the same woman, now in a white top, tells Hyuna to look at the big picture. Hyuna looks at a file photo of Kim Seol, who is identified as a candidate for North Korea's leader. The woman confirms Seol is in extreme danger, which is why their superiors made an agreement. A profile identifies Hyuna as Seol's bodyguard, and she asks if her grandfather agreed to cooperate. The woman insists it is true, but Hyuna questions why her grandfather would make that decision. She explains that Kim Seol's safety is the top priority for Hyuna's elder. Hyuna looks silently at the photo of Kim Seol, processing the new information. The woman tells Hyuna that if she cannot understand, she should just consider it an order. She adds that this approach is more efficient from a broader perspective. As Soo-hyun listens nearby, Hyuna repeats the phrase, "the bigger picture," while the woman enthusiastically confirms it. With her arms crossed, Hyuna states that she understands the situation for now. The woman then says she is curious about something and asks if she can ask a question. A woman with dark hair and glasses asks about the elder, someone lives with. Hyuna replies it is just someone she lives with, but the woman presses further. The woman mentions hearing that the elder has only ever protected VIPs like Seol. She tells Hyuna it is amazing the elder protects Seol, despite not being family. Hyuna questions if it is amazing to protect someone who is not a biological child. The woman with glasses tells Soo-hyun to watch how he talks to the teen leader. She apologizes to Hyuna, asking if her phrasing was upsetting in any way. The woman suggests they combine their strength because they must watch for more enemy. She offers to give Hyuna all the credit, which would please Seol and the elder. After the woman asks for her help, Hyuna reluctantly agrees to the proposal. The woman with glasses thinks to herself that handling kids is her specialty. She tells Soo-hyun and Hyuna that they need to get along at school now. Soo-hyun and Hyuna stand with annoyed expressions as they agree to her instruction. The woman tells Hyuna she will go back and share their data with her. She leaves through a door, leaving Soo-hyun and Hyun-ae alone in the room. The girl with glasses calls Hyuna untrustworthy, and Soo-hyun asks if she seems that way. Smiling, the girl with glasses says Hyuna is a good kid who is still learning. She tells Soo-hyun to keep an eye on Hyuna, who looks down and agree. Later that night, Kim Seol walks alone down a street with a troubled expression. Her phone screen shows multiple unanswered text messages she sent to Hyuna, asking if she's okay. Kim Seol walks along an overpass, looking at her phone and wondering why Hyuna is not responding. She becomes alarmed, thinking Hyuna might have been kidnapped because she would never ignore her. Looking through her contacts, she wonders who she can ask for help in this situation. A small cartoon version of Kim Seol is shown pausing thoughtfully while holding her phone. She decides to ask her phone's chatbot for help, and it immediately responds that it's there. Kim Seol asks what to do about her unresponsive friend, and the chatbot offers sympathy. The chatbot begins typing a solution while Kim Seol looks at her phone with confusion. It suggests a premium subscription, which annoys Kim Seol, who calls it nonsense. She turns away in frustration, saying it was her fault for asking the chatbot for help. A red-haired person in a hoodie appears behind her, saying they have found Kim Seol. A girl on the phone apologizes for using a curse word she heard the other person say. She explains with a flustered expression that she thought it was okay to use the word. Growing angry, she wonders if the person on the phone is deliberately pushing his luck. A male student runs up from behind, shouting a warning for her to watch out. A red-haired man on a scooter suddenly grabs her, pulling her into his arm. The student who had warned her rides away on his own scooter, shouting an apology. Red-haired man asks if she is okay while she tells him to get lost. As he lets go of her hand, a man in a baseball cap announces he is throwing something. A baseball is shown flying at high speed directly toward the girl's head. The man in the cap apologizes for the near miss, as the girl thinks the situation is strange. A voice shouts a warning for them to look behind them as a shadow looms over them. The red-haired man pulls the girl away from a swerving truck, calling the event insane. While holding her, he comments that accidents and incidents always seem to happen around her. He smiles and suggests that she might be the kind of person who attracts danger. With a deadpan expression, the girl internally questions if the red-haired man is an idiot. The red-haired man holds Kim Seol, hiding a knife behind his back while thinking that danger is coming. An elderly man with a cane approaches them, calling out to Seol and asking what she is doing. Seol recognizes him as Hyun-ae's grandfather and asks what he is doing there, as the red-haired man smiles. The grandfather explains with a lecherous expression that he comes to the area to watch young women exercise. He comments that the women are full of healthy energy, causing Kim Seol to look at him with disgust. The grandfather advises Seol to go home, stating that it is getting late and dangerous. After Seol asks about Hyun-ae, the grandfather says she is busy but will contact her soon. Kim Seol thanks the grandfather, waves goodbye, and runs off down the street. The two men watch her leave, and the grandfather comments on what a bright kid she is. With his eyes glowing red, the elder asks the red-haired man why he protected the girl. The red-haired man's eyes also glow red as he smiles, and says he has his personal reason. He tells the elder they both have their respective duties, which the elder calls unfortunate. A mark appears on the elder's temple as his glowing red eyes narrow before he attacks. The elder lunges toward the red-haired man, who raises his arm to block the assault. Scene changes to a close-up of a woman's sweaty back while she is exercising. The red-haired man holds a knife and asks a question to someone he calls young man. Person is revealed to be an elderly man who asks why the red-haired man is surprised. The red-haired man internally admits he lost track of the old man's surprising movement. Scene transitions to an exterior view of a large, modern house at night. Inside, a voice asks if an assassin got close to Seol, and another confirms it. The speaker explains that the incident happened right after they had stepped away. A shocked Hyun-ae says she almost failed to protect Seol as a voice urges cooperation. The elderly man, Lee Tae-sik, tells Hyun-ae that she cannot protect the child alone. He advises her to accept help from strong people, causing her to recall Soo-hyun's team. Hyun-ae angrily rejects the suggestion, claiming she is superior and needs no outside help. Lee Tae-sik comments that unlike her appearance, her mind is not very open. A flustered Hyuna asks the blushing elderly man where he is looking as he talks. She turns away from him and angrily declares that she will definitely prove her point. Hyuna finishes her vow, stating she will prove she can protect Seol on her own. Lee Tae-sik sighs and wonders who she takes after to be so stubborn. At school the next day, Hyuna apologizes to Kim Seol for not answering her message. Hyuna then hugs Seol tightly, saying she is trying to do better, which makes Seol uncomfortable. A male student watches them as Seol complains about the awkward touching, which which Hyuna calls an accident. The student with glasses looks on with a shocked expression, wondering if this is female friendship. A blonde student arrives at the classroom door and calls for Kim Sol, who is annoyed by his presence. Hyuna taps in front of Sol to confront the blonde student, who demands that she bring Sol out. She presses a gun to the blonde student's chin, threatening to kill him if he bothers Sol again. With a glowing red eye, Hyuna tells the terrified student to nod if he bothers Sol again. With a glowing red eye, Hyuna tells the terrified student to nod if he understands her warning. After the student runs away, Hyuna cheerfully tells Seol that the senior will no longer bother her. The committee president arrives with two other students, asking about the commotion involving Kim Seol. Hyuna shoves the committee president against the wall, telling him to leave Seol alone from now on. The two female students with him yell at Hyuna, questioning if she will be okay after her action. She turns to them with a menacing expression and glowing red eyes, asking what if she is not okay. Soo-Hyun watches nearby, thinking to himself that Hyuna is now reliably carrying out her mission. Kim Seol approaches from behind, asking Hyuna why she is suddenly acting this way. A girl in a classroom cheerfully asks Kim Seol what she means by her comment. Kim Seol tells the girl that she is just like Jong Soo-Yoon, which shatters her cheerful demeanor. The girl is horrified by the comparison to him as Soo-Yoon sits at his desk nearby. Soo-Yoon gives a thumbs up, silently communicating "good job" for the compliment he believes he received. The girl looks flustered and shocked while Kim Seol watches her with a neutral expression. Later, the girl cowers in a corner, traumatized by the comparison, as Kim Seol wonders about her behavior. The scene changes to the red-haired man from yesterday standing outside Tongil High School. He smiles to himself and thinks that his time at this school could be fun. A panel reveals his name is An Tae-min, an elite of North Korea's state security department. Another panel shows him training, identifying himself as a proud warrior who has shed blood. In a classroom, a teacher writes An Tae-min's name on the board, introducing him as a transfer student. He waves to the class while internally stating his mission is to assassinate Princess Kim Seol. Kim Seol sits at her desk and recognizes him as the man from the previous day's incident. An Tae-min looks at her with a sinister smile, thinking she will die for the revolution. He walks over to Kim Seol's desk and calls her name, causing her to look up. An Tae-min leans over Kim Seol's desk and asks if she has already fallen for him. Hyuna glares at him with red eyes, thinking he looks cocky, while he finds the situation amusing. He smiles to himself, deciding to first get a feel for the school's atmosphere. Later, during the school's sports festival, a soccer ball hits An Tae-min directly in the face. Students on the field ask the transfer student what he is doing just standing there. The blonde student, Junzu, is shown kicking the soccer ball with great force toward the goal. A goalie catches the ball, making the score 1-0, as female students cheer for Junzu. Junzu poses, asking if Kim Seol is watching him display his true skills on the field. He looks over at the stands, disappointed that Seol missed his impressive play. Kim Seol and Hyuna stand together, with Seol complaining about their class shirt, uninterested in soccer. Hyuna tells Seol that the shirt suits her, but Seol looks unconvinced by the compliment. Hyuna suggests changing the shirts later, mentioning she also dislikes the Korra Army text on the back. Her eyes glow red as her thoughts turn back to the new transfer student. An Tae-min, she recalls his file identifying him as a member of the State Security Department. Hyuna internally vows that as long as she is there, he will not harm Kim Seol. An Tae-min's soul limps nervously, thinking that even young schoolgirls in South Korea are puppet soldier. He watches a group of girls laughing and internally notes that he never received this information. Suddenly, he has a terrifying vision of the girls as heavily armed soldiers, calling them American puppet. Hyuna asks what he is staring at, causing him to wonder if Kim Seol is also a soldier. On a soccer field, he sweats and thinks his mission might be harder than he anticipated. Another student shouts a warning as a soccer ball flies and hits An Tae-min in the head. Lying on the ground, he wonders if everyone at the school is his enemy. A male student stands over him, backlit by the sun, and asks if he is okay. The student helps him up, and An Tae-min thinks there are decent people in South Korea. A group of girls comment that the transfer student is handsome but bad at soccer. An Tae-min puts his arm around the other student, Soo-Hyun, saying he is devoted to Kim Seol. One of the girls asks her friend Sewa which of the two boys she thinks is better. The purple-haired girl, Sewa, applies lip gloss and says she wants both of them. Group then turns to a girl with glasses, Maria and asks for her preference. Maria thinks about her answer as the image shows a close-up of Jung Soo-hyun. During PE class, a muscular teacher with pink hair yells at the students from a balcony. The teacher, identified as Kang Sheol, smiles and asks if his students are trying to embarrass him. He threatens to lock the losing soccer team in the gym to clean it all. An Tae-min has a flashback of the same teacher brutally training someone with a knife. On the field, several male students complain that the teacher is being too harsh. The traumatic memory causes An Tae-min to sweat and clench his teeth in distress. He runs onto the field, determined to avoid punishment from the demon-like teacher. An Tae-min intercepts the soccer ball with a surprising move that impresses another player. He then kicks the ball with all his might toward the opponent's goal. The ball flies into the net, tying the score at 1-1 as a student shouts the update. Two classmates celebrate with An Tae-min, patting his back and congratulating the transfer student. He smiles, experiencing a new feeling of achievement and camaraderie with his teammate. From the sidelines, a female student remarks that he is surprisingly good at soccer. The teacher announces that whoever scores the winning goal gets a date voucher with Kim Sol. A girl with pigtails angrily confronts the teacher, who calls her the most popular student. A girl asks her teacher if she can play in the game, thinking it is a chance to get close to Sol. A male student watches with concern, saying he thinks it is a bad idea as the girl is dragged away. The male student receives a telepathic order to score a goal right now and agrees to do it. An Tae-min realizes winning means a one-on-one date, which he considers the perfect opportunity to eliminate her. He and the other male student run on the field, with An Tae-min determined to score the goal. A blonde opponent dribbles the ball past them, wondering if they think soccer is just about fighting spirit. The blonde student kicks the ball high toward the goal, repeating his question about fighting spirit. Goalie, a large student with glasses, sweats as he focuses on the incoming ball, muttering, "Fighting spirit." The goalie, Minduk, dives and successfully saves the shot, catching the ball just in time. On the ground, Minduk yells, asking if they thought he was just a character who causes trouble. He then kicks the ball far down the field, telling his teammates to go and claim Kim Sul. The ball lands right between the brown-haired student and An Tae-min, who both see their chance. Spectators watch in shock as the two boys kick the ball at the same time while a whistle blows. The simultaneous kick from both students sends the ball flying with a fiery, explosive effect. Soccer ball rolls to a stop on the ground as a voice declares that the game is over. The teacher and two female students yell in frustration that the game was so close. On the field, An Tae-min and Soo-hyun shake hands, complimenting each other on playing well. An Tae-min and Soo-hyun shake hands, complimenting each other on playing well. An Tae-min reminds Soo-hyun about the penalty shootout, causing Soo-hyun to think he might be decent. A caption explains their team was eliminated 0-3 in the shootout, showing the defeated team photo. The purple-haired girl, Sewa, smiles and asks someone if what she just witnessed was cool. Goalie, Minduk, asks Soo-hyun if he saw his save while An Tae-min complains about the low. Soo-hyun looks away as Minduk gets close, and a caption identifies him as Jung Soo-hyun. In a school hallway, a student pleads with Kim Seol to do something, but she refuses. In a classroom, two girls named Kang Eunji and An Da-kyung ask Kim Seol to wear the class shirt. Kim Seol rejects their annoying request, though they insist the shirt will look pretty on her. A thought bubble shows Seol in different outfits, noting she looks good despite her bad personality. Seol yells at Hyune to wear the shirt instead so the other girls will stop bothering her. One of the girls objects, thinking to herself that Hyune's body size is different from theirs. The two girls laugh and tell Seol that her size is perfect, which she finds annoying. Kim Seol stands up and tells the two girls to get lost, causing them to run away. Two female students in a classroom discuss how difficult it is to approach Kim Seol. One of the girls announces she has a good idea, catching An Tae-min's attention. A caption identifies the red-haired student as An Tae-min, a handsome North Korean killer. The two girls admire his looks from a distance, comparing him to a celebrity. An Tae-min grows paranoid, wondering if the girls are scheming to expose his identity. One of the students suddenly appears at his desk, startling him by saying his name. The girls explain they were just talking about how handsome he is, which he acknowledged. They ask him for a favor, wanting him to wear something that is not difficult. He nervously agrees to their request as they both smile with glowing red eye. The next panel shows An Tae-min's hands nervously pulling at a short skirt. He is revealed to be wearing a frilly maid outfit, horrified as the girls cheer. A crowd of female students gathers around him, laughing at the transfer student in girls' clothes. He panics and tells the approaching girls to stop and get their hands away. There, he internally concludes this is a tactic to break his mental state, but vows to resist. As he steels himself, a voice from off-screen asks if the transfer student is okay. A male student looks at someone and comments that they seem really troubled. The scene reveals Ante Min in a maid outfit, asking if his comrade came to save him, but the person says no. Another student in a clown costume is present, prompting Ante Min to ask if he was also forced into the eye. The student with glasses, Minduk, suddenly shouts for everyone to wait, looking distressed. Minduk objects to the girls choosing their clothes, declaring that the situation is clearly unreasonable. Two female students grab him and angrily tell him to shut up and stay out of it. The student in the clown costume tells Ante Min that resistance is meaningless and to just give up. He then tells the blushing Ante Min that the outfit suits him as Hyuna watches nearby. Hyuna thinks to herself that Ante Min is pathetic and vows to expose his identity today. Elsewhere, Soo-hyun exits a restroom, wondering if the chaotic situation is finally over. Inside a room, three female students hold down Ante Min, trying to remove his pants as he protests. In a hallway, the purple-haired girl Sehwa approaches Soo-hyun and says hello. Soo-hyun asks if she is Yang Sehwa, and she smiles while confirming her identity. Sehwa looks pleased and asks if he remembered her name. Soo-hyun asks what she wants, and she playfully comments on his stiffness, reminding him they are classmates. The purple-haired girl, Sehwa, tells Soo-hyun that she wants to get closer to him. Soo-hyun applies a simple formula for friendship and agrees, much to Sehwa's surprise. Sehwa smirks, thinking he is just a typical guy despite his rumored devotion to Kim Seal. She asks him to hang out after school, but Soo-hyun replies that it will be difficult. When she asks why, Soo-hyun looks away and says it is hard for him to explain. He then states that he cannot be apart from Kim Seol and thus cannot see her. Sehwa is left speechless and shocked by his blunt rejection and his reasoning. Kim Seol suddenly appears and grabs Soo-hyun, asking what weird thing he is saying. She tells him to stop saying useless things, while he complains that her grip hurt. Sehwa watches the two of them silently, touching her hair as she processes the scene. With an annoyed expression, she thinks to herself that she wants to steal him away. Later, outside the school, students are leaving as a car waits by the gate. Kim Seol walks with Soo-hyun, accusing him of stalking her, which he calls a coincidence. Seol internally fumes, wondering why Soo-hyun said what he did to Yang Sehwa. She asks why he likes her when she mistreats him, and he replies that many people dislike her. Soo-hyun bluntly agrees, telling Kim Seol that she definitely does not have a good personality. She becomes enraged, but he continues by saying he does not care what kind of person she is. He promises that he will keep staying by her side, and that this will never change. Kim Seol blushes and sweats, thinking to herself how annoying his words are. She changes the subject, saying she will watch a movie, and he wishes her an enjoyable time. As they walk, she lists her plans to go to the CGV and a cafe afterward. A voiceover asks what else is happening as the scene transitions to a view of the city. From a high angle, An Tae-min and a female student are seen walking across a street. An Tae-min stops on the sidewalk with a thought bubble showing an exclamation mark. The female student looks back at him from a short distance and thinks he is handsome. Hiding nearby, another girl with a braid thinks that tailing people is not her style. An Tae-min walks away, thinking he needs to find the hideout of a certain guy. He stops walking and says come out to the person he senses is following him. With his face in shadow, he says that he knows he is being followed. The girl with the braid smirks, thinking she underestimated the state security department elite. A female student with a sinister smile holds a red measuring tape, thinking a frontal assault is best. An Tae-min confronts the girl, yelling about the measuring tape and how he already cooperated at school. The girl looks at the measuring tape she is holding and wonders about An Tae-min's reaction. A flashback shows a different, blue-haired girl maniacally licking a measuring tape. In the classroom flashback, the blue-haired girl and others attempt to measure a restrained and screaming An Tae-min. Back in the present, An Tae-min runs away from the first girl, telling her to stop tormenting him. The girl watches him flee and asks if he really thinks he can run away from her. As the girl chases him, a terrified An Tae-min imagines a bloody skull looming behind him. The scene shifts to a movie theater lobby where Soo-hyun is waiting among other patrons. A poster for an animated movie called Blade of Extinction is shown on display. Inside the theater, a movie scene depicts a defeated orc-like creature begging for mercy. The camera pulls back to show Kim Seol, Soo-hyun, and another girl watching the movie. A piece of popcorn hits Kim Seol's head, causing her to look back with an annoyed expression. She turns to find An Tae-min sitting directly behind her, eating from a large bucket of popcorn. Kim-sul angrily asks what he is doing there, and he asks if she is also there to see the movie. In a movie theater, Soo-hyun eats popcorn and says he also wanted to see the movie. Seol recalls telling him her plans, and internally calls herself crazy for doing so. She asks a noisy student in front of her to be quiet, and he apologizes. Feeling embarrassed, Seol leaves her seat while Soo-hyun watches from a few rows behind. Later, Seol sits alone in a coffee shop as an unseen person points her out. A close-up shows her resting her chin on her hand, looking pensive by the window. Two male students admire her from a distance, one calling her gorgeous but unapproachable. Seol glares angrily as Soo-hyun sits at another table behind her, sipping his drink. She is suddenly startled when a straw pokes her in the cheek from the side. Seol jumps up and accuses Soo-hyun of doing it on purpose, but he feigns surprise. He calls it a coincidence, leaving Seol flustered and questioning her expectations of him. She storms out of the coffee shop, telling Soo-hyun to stop following her. A close-up shows her eyes widening in surprise at something happening in front of her. A red-haired male student and a girl run screaming towards her down the street. As the red-haired student runs past, Seol punches him directly in the face. Hyuna stands over Kim Seol, who is on the ground, and says that she is hurt. Soo-hyun checks on An Tae-min, who also fell, while Hyuna asks if Seol is alright. At a cafe, Hyuna explains to the group that she was trying to talk to Soo-hyun. She continues, saying he suddenly ran away, so she chased after him out of worry. An Tae-min nervously agrees with her story, thinking it is dangerous to leave Soo-hyun near Seol. He says he misunderstood, privately thinking Soo-hyun cannot act with so many people around. An Tae-min internally expresses frustration that he cannot do anything with the princess right there. Yuna leans in with a menacing expression, telling him his answer is not very convincing. At the table, Soo-hyun looks away with his cheeks puffed out while holding a glass. Yoon-ae tells An Tae-min to keep smiling, and he nervously agrees as Soo-hyun drink. Kim Seol looks at them with a serious expression and asks if they have some time. An Tae-min, Hyun-ae, and Soo-hyun all look towards Seol, confused by her question. In an arcade, Kim Seol yells as she powerfully hits a punching bag machine. She tells Hyun-ae that hitting things relieves stress and asks if she wants to try. Seol says Hyun-ae is too girly for this, as the two male students watch from behind. Hyun-ae smiles and compliments Seol's skill, while internally thinking that Seol has no idea. An Tae-min silently decides he must settle for gathering information about the princess today. He thinks that with so many people around, dealing with the princess is too complicated. Inside him, he then wonders if Soo-hyun, who is eating a lollipop, is also close to the prince. An Tae-min internally resolves to deal with the princess when Soo-hyun is not around. He considers Soo-hyun a rare good person as Soo-hyun offers him a piece of candy. Kim Seol approaches the two boys, telling them to stop posing and hit the machine. Yuno observes Seol's excited expression and thinks that she seems strangely happy about Thee. An Tae-min declares that he will gladly go first and rushes toward the punching bag. He scores 960 and boasts that no one can beat him as Seol calls him strong. Kim Seol glares at the smug An Tae-min, thinking to herself how incredibly annoying he is. With a dark aura and glowing red eyes, Hyun-ae steps up to the punching machine. After Hyun-ae's punch, the machine's display shows a score of 955, just below An. Hyun-ae says she could win with another try, causing An Tae-min to think she is crazy. Seol asks Soo-hyun if he is annoyed by An Tae-min and encourages him to hit the machine. Soo-hyun begins to walk away, but Kim Seol stops him and asks where he is going. Hyun-ae watches him leave, thinking he could have scored well before questioning why she is rooting for him. Soo-hyun returns holding a large sledgehammer, telling a shocked Kim Seol to step aside for safety. Seol grabs Soo-hyun and yells at him, but he reminds her that she told him to smash it. She pulls him by the ear, demanding he put the hammer back while he complains that it hurt. The scene changes to a fighting game where Kim Seol's character knocks out her opponent. Soo-hyun and Hyun-ae watch her play, commenting on her skill, which Seol attributes to her past. Other students watch her play, with one boy accusing her of using cheap moves. Soo-hyun thinks that certain people should be arriving soon, and Hyun-ae agrees with him. Nearby, a blonde student gets angry at a taekwondo game, yelling about how annoying it is dojo. The blonde student is surprised when Seol, at the next machine, asks if he is talking to her. Hyun-ae puts an arm around Seol, telling her not to provoke people while laughing at the student. Seol dismisses it as just a game, while An Tae-min observes her with a concerned thought. She happily states that beating people with combos is fun, as An Tae-min thinks she is cunning. He imagines her as a crazed dictator, concluding it would be horrifying if she gained power. Kim Seol challenges An Tae-min to a game with dinner on the line, but he refuses. Hyun-ah and Seul taunt him, asking if he thinks he will lose and calling him delicate. He reluctantly agrees to play as the two girls stand behind him with sinister smile. Surrounded by a fiery aura, An Tae-min resolves to show them his elite combat skill. After 5 minutes, he is losing badly and angrily demands to play one more time. Seul agrees to another game if he also buys drinks and snacks, while Soo-hyun looks on. Leaning on Hyun-ae, Seul laughs and thinks to herself that she has never seen this side of him. The scene shifts to a restaurant table covered in plates of Korean street food. At the table, Hyun-ah thanks An Tae-min for the food after he lost 5 games in a row. Soo-hyun tells a blushing An Tae-min that he will share the cost, prompting an internal reaction. An Tae-min is moved to tears, thinking Soo-hyun has stopped the princess's brutal exploitation. Hyun-ah watches with disdain, thinking An Tae-min is pathetic for not knowing Soo-hyun is an enemy. Soo-hyun eats a piece of fried food, thinking he will prove himself with this opportunity. While the group eats, Seul yells at Soo-hyun for taking her food as Hyun-oh smolders with anger. Afterwards, Seul suggests to a hesitant Hyun that they take pictures in a photo booth. Inside a photo booth, An Tae-min nervously notes how the cramped space makes one vulnerable. Kim Seul looks at the others with an annoyed expression and starts to say something. Hyun tells everyone to loosen up their expressions as the 4 students pose stiffly. She then suggests a game of rock, paper, scissors where the loser must act cute. During the game, An Tae-min throws an invalid hand sign and is declared the loser. The other 3, depicted as birds, comically gang up on An Tae-min as he screams. A photo shows the group laughing at a flustered An Tae-min wanting to play again. For another picture, Kim Seol makes peace signs and asks someone to put their finger on her. A photo is taken with Seol in the center, while others form a heart above her head. After the photo session, Hyun-ae places a pair of pink bunny ears on Kim Seol's head. Seol, now wearing the ears and sunglasses, comments that Soo-hyun looks hilarious in a wig. An Tae-min tries on sunglasses and admits to liking them, which surprises Hyun-ae. The group poses in a special forces formation, while Seol takes a picture on her phone. Seol grabs An Tae-min's face, telling him to look more miserable for the photo. A final photo shows the 4 students stacked on top of each other, smiling together. After their outing, the 4 students walk together down a street at dusk. An Tae-min looks at the photo strip, thinking that he is satisfied but exhausted. He smiles, reflecting that the day was tiring but also strangely fulfilling. His expression changes as he thinks that life in South Korea seems fun. A man in a mask grabs his shoulder, reminding him not to forget their objective. Back with the group, Hyun-ae suggests they buy drinks and go to the park. Seol invites An Tae-min, but he declines, saying he is heading back now. Seol is surprised by his sudden departure, as Hyun-ae thinks about finding his hideout. Hyun-ae also apologizes and leaves, internally deciding she has to trust Soo-hyun. Alone with Soo-hyun, Seol asks if Hyun-ae likes An Tae-min, which Soo-hyun denies. Seol asks how you would know that, but he turns away and says it is nothing. He changes the subject, reminding her that she was the one who wanted to go to the park. Soo-hyun offers to accompany her, causing Seol to look at him with a surprised blush. The scene shifts to a view of a park at night, illuminated by lantern. Sitting at a table with 2 soda cans, Soo-hyun asks Seol if she had fun. On a park bench at night, Kim Seol pets a cat and asks Soo-hyun if he had fun. She clarifies it was fun with everyone, not just him, and Soo-hyun says he is relieved. Blushing, Seol holds the cat and asks what he is suddenly so relieved about. The cat jumps from her lap as Soo-hyun admits that he was actually worried. He recalls in a flashback that besides Hyun-ae, Seol did not have good relationship. His voiceover continues, stating that he feels like he saw a new side of her today. He remembers her smiling brightly with others and says it was nice to see. Back in the present, he tells Seol he wants to see that side of her more often. Seol calls him creepy for observing her, but he says his desire to protect her is true. He then tells her he hopes she stays safe and keeps smiling like she did today. A flustered Seol turns away, telling him to stop trying to act so cool. She continues to blush while looking away as Soo-hyun watches her from the side. A photo shows Seol making a V sign behind Soo-hyun's head as she thinks he is annoying. Later, a woman lounging in a messy room asks Soo-hyun if he is back already. While Soo-hyun cleans, the woman says she was jealous, but he calls hygiene important for their operation. A woman with dark hair hugs a confused Soo-hyun from behind, mentioning explaining a line he said. She quotes him saying, "When you smile, my heart smiles too," which he denies remembering. A woman with glasses watches a monitor, wondering how she ended up observing Kid. In a past scene, Soo-hyun gives the drunk woman a piggyback ride as she warns him. He puts her to bed as she drunkenly slurs about being able to have love and work. In the present, Kim Seol sleeps restlessly in her bed with a troubled expression. Soo-hyun recalls a photo of the group, thinking it was nice to see Seol smiling. He also remembers sitting on a bench with Seol, wishing for her to stay safe. Then he wonders why the memory of her smiling keeps replaying in his head. The scene changes to a bright, sunny day on a school's outdoor sports field. An Tae-min stands on the field, looking towards a group of other students. He internally reaffirms that his true goal remains the assassination of the prince. As another student announces their arrival, he thinks the princess will die by his hand. He thinks about his pretend friendship just as someone off-screen yells a warning. A volleyball suddenly strikes An Tae-min directly in the face, interrupting his thought. At a school sports festival, a student lies on the court after being hit by a ball. A rival team in yellow outfits mockingly calls Class 3 weak and no match for them. The event is announced as Queen Dodgeball, introducing Class 4's Queen, a girl named Waria. As Waria asks her team for protection, Soo-hyun and Seol watch from their court. Soo-hyun and Seol are the only two remaining players on their side of the court. From the sidelines, their classmates cheer for Seol to dodge and Soo-hyun to defend them. Hyuna watches, thinking she should be the one protecting Seol instead of Soo-hyun. She decides An Tae-min will not make a rash move and resolves to just watch. On the court, Soo-hyun takes Kim Seol's hand, telling her to stay behind him. He holds her hand firmly and promises to protect her no matter what happened. A flustered Seol tells him to stop acting cool and pay attention to the game. She yells at him to keep his eyes on the game as he turns his head. An opposing player smirks while holding a ball, declaring he will go for a combo. He throws multiple balls at Soo-hyun, as a rule states the last male player is invincible. After being hit in the face, Soo-hyun thinks he cannot risk injuring students, annoying Seol. Seol taunts Soo-hyun, asking how he will win if he just lets himself get hit. An opposing player yells and throws a powerful, spinning whirlwind shot directly at him. Soo-hyun catches the fast-moving ball with a single hand, stopping its momentum. He stands holding the ball high in the air, as Seol looks up at him, surprised. Soo-hyun states he will end the game in one shot to avoid hurting anyone. The opposing team sees him prepare to throw and yells for everyone to protect their queen. Ball is thrown high into the sky, appearing to miss the court completely. From an overhead view, the ball descends towards the opposing team as they look up. Two opposing players smirk, thinking the throw is too high and that he is given up. The single ball suddenly multiplies into a shower of balls falling from the sky. One of the balls hits the opposing team's queen, Waria, eliminating her from the game. On the sidelines, their classmates erupt in cheers, praising Soo-hyun's excellent tactic. Seol asks if this means they have won, thinking to herself about how strange he is. After the match, a student named Yang Sewa announces a dance break performance. He hands a microphone to a female dance club member while staring at her intently. Students watch a performance, with one boy switching his allegiance from Kim Seol to a dancer named Yang Sewa. Yang Sewa dances, thinking about how different she looks and how she must never be a certain way. Her thoughts show a comedic image of two men as she finds the idea of them together terrifying. She points at the crowd, thinking that everyone is captivated, a fact she cannot tell them. Another student dismisses Seol's role as queen and learns from another that a relay race is next. Yang Sewa thinks to herself that she will be the one to stand out and win over Jung Soo-hyun. A male student with glasses blushes intensely, wondering if a girl just winked at him. Soo-hyun watches the performance with a neutral expression, wondering what the students are supposed to be. An Tae-min's group observes the dancers, with him internally questioning if they are dressed as prisoner. He looks at Kim Seol and wonders how he is supposed to eliminate the princess in this confusing situation. Surrounded by a fiery aura, he resolves to wipe them all out so they cannot even speak. He thinks that as an elite agent, he has nothing to fear and can defeat them in second. Soo-hyun places a hand on An Tae-min's shoulder, reminding him to prepare for the upcoming relay Bryce. A startled An Tae-min thinks to himself that he did not even sense Soo-hyun approaching him. From a distance, Kim Seol watches the two, thinking that Soo-hyun's actions today are unexpected. A student observes Soo-hyun from behind, thinking that he looks different today. An announcer explains the final relay runner must pick a friend to go on a date with. Holding a red baton, Soo-hyun looks determined and prepares to run his leg of the race. In a black and white close-up, Soo-hyun firmly takes a girl's hand. Another female student calls out Jung Soo-hyun's name in surprise as he holds the girl's hand. The surprised girl with buns looks on in disbelief, wondering if this is real. So-yoon glances back and tells the girl whose hand he is holding that it is fine. He then tells her to just trust him and run with him. The purple-haired girl, Yang Se-wa, smiles and agrees to his request. Scene transitions to a flashback set 10 minutes earlier during the same event. A red-haired student runs at high speed during the mission relay event. On the sidelines, other students cheer for the transfer student, amazed by his hidden ability. The red-haired student smirks, thinking a simple run is nothing as a mission is announced. He confidently approaches a table with several cups, intending to finish the task quickly. The mission is revealed to be eating a cup of spicy fire chicken noodle. A red-haired student begins a spicy noodle eating contest, thinking he will finish it quickly. He immediately breathes fire, exclaiming that it is incredibly spicy and a pain he has never felt. From the sidelines, his classmates try to cheer him on as he struggles with the food. The student forces himself to keep eating, comparing the spiciness to all of his past training. He ultimately concludes that the pain from the noodles is even harsher than his training. Defeated, he hands his bowl to a female classmate, telling her he is leaving the rest to her. In a water-carrying relay, Class 3 is in last place as its members trip and spill water. A girl apologizes to Hyuna last and says it is okay. Another student spins rapidly, creating a small whirlwind as an observer wonders how she is so fast. Hyuna leads a sack race with surprising speed, wondering to herself why she is going so far. Soo-ho-yeon cheers for Hyuna, telling her to win by any means, and she agrees to it. An announcer states the final relay runner must choose a friend to go on a date with. A girl with blue hair and twin buns looks annoyed, expecting to be chosen for the date again. A close-up shows someone firmly taking the blue-haired girl's hand. She turns in surprise to see Soo-hyun holding her hand and calls out his name. Kim Seol looks on with a surprised expression as other students call out Soo-hyun's name. Soo-hyun looks back at a different girl, telling her it is fine as she wonders if this is happening. While holding her hand, he tells the purple-haired girl to trust him and run. The girl, Yang Se-wa, smiles and agrees to his request to run with him. Soo-hyun kneels to tie their ankles for a three-legged race, asking if she can do well. Yang Se-wa confidently boasts about her athletic ability, though a note reveals she hates exercise. They run perfectly in sync, with Yang Se-wa trusting Soo-hyun to lead them. From the sidelines, a group of female students yell that Soo-hyun is cheating with another girl. Soo-hyun and Yang Se-wa cross the finish line together, winning first place for Class 3. Their classmates erupt in cheers for them, while Seol watches silently from the background. Seol continues to watch the celebration with a confused expression and question marks above her. Yang Se-wa hugs Soo-hyun from behind while laughing, which Seol observes with annoyance. Seol glares with a dark aura, wondering if Yang Se-wa was laughing at her. A teacher with pink hair happily announces to the students that he is buying them pizza. As students get excited about pizza, Soo-hyun stands nearby and internally agrees with him. After the relay, Yang Se-wa approaches Soo-hyun and congratulates him on his good work. She smiles, telling him they won first place because of him and that she is happy. Another student praises her running, but she asks to speak with Soo-hyun alone. The other student, feeling left out, asks Soo-hyun and Se-wa when they are going. Soo-hyun asks where they are going, and Se-wa gives a knowing look in response. Nearby, another girl hugs Kim Seol from behind, suggesting they go eat pizza. Se-wa reminds Soo-hyun that he wanted a date and says she is looking forward to it. She then takes his hand and announces that they are leaving for their date now. Two classmates observe this, commenting on his sudden boldness and questioning his loyalty to Seol. A friend asks Kim Seol where she is going as Seol gets up to leave. Se-wa internally notes Seol gets up to leave. Se-wa internally notes Seol's reaction with amusement, thinking Seol is more forward than she thought. She continues to think that Seol knows how to play push and pull and is cute. Soo-hyun walks ahead, thinking to himself that it might be fun to toy with Se-wa. He hands her a drink, which she accepts with thanks before starting to say something else. Sitting on a bench, Se-wa asks if this is a date and questions if he knows what one ija. Soo-hyun's inner monologue concludes that Yang Se-wa is much weirder than he initially thought. Se-wa leans on Soo-hyun, teasing him for choosing her when he supposedly only likes Seol. He thinks to himself that he has been watching her to confirm something specific. His thoughts show a flashback of Se-wa being confessed to by another male student. In the flashback, check, she turns the boy down with a convenient excuse while keeping a smile. He recalls her tactic of giving boys false hope to keep them from leaving her. In the present, he tells Sehwa he has a question, and she encourages him to ask. He asks what she thinks about Kim Seol, causing her cheerful expression to shatter instantly. With a dark expression, Sehwa asks why he is suddenly bringing up Seol. Soo-Yun's internal monologue explains he has seen that Sehwa is very conscious of Seol. He continues to think that this observation is why he wanted to ask about her feeling. Soo-Yun crushes a can, angrily denying that he is the one who is conscious of Seol. Sehwa smugly suggests that Kim Seol is actually the one who is conscious of her. A flustered Soo-Yun puts on gloves, stating she is being overly defensive about his question. Surrounded by a blue aura, Sehwa dismisses Seol and states she has confirmed his aggression. A male student confronts a purple-haired girl, ordering her to turn around and drop any weapon. The girl appears frightened from a first-person view as two blue-gloved hands reach for her. Another girl with dark hair and twin buns steps forward, calling out to the male student. She kicks the boy in the face, calling him a pervert, as the purple-haired girl smiles behind him. Nearby, two other students walk together, one complaining that another class is getting pizza. The girl with twin buns walks past them, overhearing their conversation while sipping her drink. She then sees Soo-Yun walking with the purple-haired girl and wonders why she feels bothered by them. Next, she tries to convince herself that it is a win for her if Soo-Yun leaves her alone. Her thoughts become angry as she thinks good riddance. Believing he has been getting on her nerves, she imagines the two as bees flying away, thinking she would be better off if he disappeared. Annoyed at this thought, she imagines her chibi self swatting the two bee figures with a fly swatter. Now standing alone on a path, she looks down and questions what she is even doing. Her red eyes narrow as she notices something in the distance, making a sound. She is shocked to see Soo-Yun and the purple-haired girl sitting together on a bench, thinking they are flirting. Turning away with a satisfied look, she thinks they should just stick together and disappear forever. She pauses, recalling a memory of Soo-Yun sitting on a bench with another long-haired girl. For a moment, she thinks to herself that she is sort of friends with her. Now, peeking from behind a wall, she decides to keep an eye on Soo-Yun, calling him a psycho. A male student in blue gloves orders Yang Sehwa to turn around, who thinks he is insane. Kim Seol runs toward the confrontation, calling out to the male student. She delivers a flying kick to the boy's face, calling him a pervert. Seol grabs the dazed boy's shirt, wondering how long Sehwa was watching this unfold. She angrily shakes the boy, asking if she was not enough for him. Sehwa intervenes, telling Seol to stop her weird talk and to get away from the pervert. Sehwa confronts Seol, asking who she thinks she is, as Seol drags the boy. Sehwa smirks, accusing Seol of making Soo-Yun act this way and enjoying making fools of people. Seol retorts that she just saved Sehwa from a pervert and tells her to stay out of it. Sehwa accuses Seol of gaslighting people, a term that confuses Seol. Sehwa suggests Seol is angry because Soo-Yun has been hanging around her recently. Surrounded by a fiery aura, Sehwa taunts Sewol about being upset over the sports festival. Seo Hee-won stands between two girls, telling them that a physical altercation is too much. The purple-haired girl and the girl with bare ears shout at him in unison to stay out of it. Bare-eared girl calls Soo-Hyun the biggest problem, while he internally thinks they are the weird one. Meanwhile, someone wonders where Seol has gone as a close-up shows a person eating pizza. Elsewhere, a group of students happily eat pizza, marveling at how good it tastes. In a different location at night, a voice states that they kept saying a certain girl was just a civilian. A woman with glasses asks Hoo-Yun if he really planned to search the girl's body, laughing about it. So-won listens as the woman's internal monologue notes Sehwa's aggression toward Kim Seol earlier. The woman tells So-won that he doesn't understand the scary world that exists between girls. An illustration shows two girls in historical attire, as So-won thinks their conflict looks dangerous. The woman tells a confused So-Yun that he is too young to understand, and it is better that way. She sits back and explains that it is not wrong to say Sehwa is conscious of Seol. Suddenly, she describes Seol as someone who stands out, is pretty, and has an unusual personality. The woman adds that Seol's combat ability is considerable, but that is not what she means. She concludes that some people naturally feel resistance toward a person like Seol. A thought bubble appears over Yang Sehwa, suggesting that some people might secretly admire her. A girl with glasses tells Soo-Yun that Sehwa likely approached him because he is close to the prince. The girl with glasses finds it amusing that Soo-yeon does not understand the complex social dynamic. She tells him to apologize to Sehwa, though Soo-yeon internally justifies his previous action. A flashback shows a team leader ordering a subordinate to apologize for threatening a civilian. The scene transitions to the next day with an exterior shot of the high school. In a classroom, Yang Sehwa sits at her desk looking into her compact mirror. Soo Hoo-yeon's face suddenly appears in her mirror's reflection, and she lets out a scream. He asks to speak for a moment, and a startled Sehwa asks how long he was there. Sehwa initially dismisses him, telling him to manage his expression in front of other students. Soo-han looks at her directly and states that he came because he wanted to apologize. After he asks for some of her time, Sehwa looks at him silently, considering his request. Now outside, she asks why he brought her there as he begins his apology. Soo Hoo-yeon says he is sorry for misunderstanding her, and she pats his chest, calling him a weirdo. She then leans closer, telling him not to get the wrong idea as she is not interested. Soo Hoo-yeon asks Sehwa if they are not even friends anymore, which she finds surprisingly cute. Sehwa reassures him they are friends but suggests drawing a line, internally planning to keep him interested. She asks if he likes Seo, and he directly confirms it, which visibly annoys Sehwa. He then tells her that he does not want to compare her to Kim Seo. Soo Hoo-yeon continues by saying Sehwa has her own strengths, and her appeal is not inferior. He speculates that she might be more attractive because her personality is more friendly. Announcing that class is starting, he suggests they head back, leaving Sehwa wondering about his motive. Sehwa internally replays his compliments, thinking it is unbelievable that he is stringing her along. Blushing, she rests her chin on her hand and wonders why she does not hate it. The scene transitions to an exterior view of an apartment building in the early morning. Inside a room, a phone alarm goes off at 6:30 with song lyrics appearing on screen. A hand reaches out to grab the phone and silence the buzzing alarm clock. Kim Seo lies in bed with her phone, groggily wondering why it is morning already. At 6:32, Kim Seo sits up in her bed and stretches with a large yawn. A security monitor shows Kim Seo leaving her room as an unseen person watches her. In another location, a shirtless Soo Yoon sweats profusely while doing intense morning exercise. He performs difficult handstand push-ups on a pair of bars inside his room. After finishing his set, his bare feet land firmly back on the wooden floor. At 6:34 a.m., Soo Hoo-yeon stands up from his workout and complains about a headache. A woman enters, addressing him as team leader before complimenting his morning ab. She stretches and worries about Seol, but Soo Hoo-yeon tells her not to be concerned. He reveals he has been monitoring Seol through screens, showing her in her room. The woman tells him to stop watching as Seol is about to start her hygiene routine. Soo Ha-yeon takes a shower, thinking to himself that he can finally relax after his workout. He makes a self-aware comment about the scene, and the woman asks who he is talking to. Soo Ha-yeon serves the woman breakfast, stating that eating is also part of the mission. At Seol's apartment, a note reminds her to eat breakfast before school as a voiceover begins. Kim Seol eats at her table while apparently filming a product review for Pure Tea. Now dressed in her school uniform, Seol stands silently before leaving her apartment. Soo Hoo-yeon and the woman, also in uniform, leave their own apartment for school. Kim Seol walks with a friend who offers to tell her something funny she saw earlier. The friend asks if a certain guy is insane, while two other students report no issues nearby. Inside the classroom, a male student with glasses enthusiastically confirms the room is also clear. At her desk, Yang Sehwa applies lip gloss with a slight smile. She then approaches Soo Hoo-yeon's desk to greet him, and he returns the greeting. Sehwa leans on his desk, commenting on his early arrival, as a log notes an irregularity. She asks if he meant what he said yesterday, but he feigns ignorance. The student with glasses watches them in disbelief, thinking his idol is talking to Soo Hoo-yeon. Sehwa clarifies she is referring to when he said she might be more attractive than Seol. So-yeon changes the subject to lunch just as Kim Seol enters the classroom behind them. Sehwa becomes visibly angry at Seol's arrival, and Soo Hoo-yeon notes her aggression. From the classroom entrance, Kim Seol shouts at Yang Sehwa to stop right there. A flashback shows Soo-hyun telling Sehwa she cannot harm Seol, even if she is more attractive. In the flashback, Sehwa asks him to say that again without grabbing her hand. Back in the present, Kim Seol puts Soo-hyun in a chokehold, calling him a lunatic. A classmate asks Kim Seol how she can eat so much as morning classes begin. At 12 lunchtime, Soo Hoo-yeon holds a tray piled high with an enormous amount of food. A larger classmate joins him, vowing to adopt Soo Hoo-yeon's combat eating style for speed. At 12:02, they start eating, with Soo Hoo-yeon consuming his meal calmly as his classmate classmate eats frantically. 2 minutes later, Soo-hyun has finished his entire meal, leaving his classmate shocked and still eating. A girl watches her friend eat, wondering how she stays thin before a math lesson begins. In the classroom, Kim Seul dozes at her desk while her friend reads a book nearby. During the 5th period, Soo-hyun sits at his desk and internally notes that there are no issue. During the 5th period break, classmates crowd around Soo-hyun, asking to see his new model gun. The 6th period break becomes more chaotic as the students playfully handle the model gun and a hammer. At homeroom cleaning time, the larger student brandishes the model gun and a glowing weapon playfully. Soo-hyun rests his head on his hand, looking bored and thinking there were no afternoon irregularity. Kim Seul complains about the noisy classroom while her friend plays with her long dark hair. A teacher dismisses the class as an unseen person, confirms Seol is going home under protection. As Seol and her friend leave, the unseen person tells Soo-hyun his mission is complete. A girl with red eyes expresses her disgust, calling the lack of irregularities pathetic. At school, someone observes that a student named An Tamin is absent for no apparent reason. A male student with glasses resolves to act first, hoping Jung Soo-hyun does not discover something. The scene transitions to a city neighborhood at sunset, marking a change in time and place. A red-haired man in a suit asks a long-haired woman if she is sure it is safe. He explains that she is a high-priority person from the puppet state and should be careful. The woman addresses him as Comrade An Tamin, asking if her presence makes him uncomfortable. A flustered An Tamin denies this as the woman reaches out and tells him to relax. She smiles, stating the North Korean hierarchy they intend to topple is meaningless in this location.